All right, everyone. I'm so excited to welcome back to my show two of the greatest guests of all time. The first, we loved him as Almanzo Wilder on Little House on the Prairie. He's the Prairie Man. And then we're going to build this all out. It's a whole build. It's a whole build. And then my other return guest, Prairie Bitch. That's right. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. We're not going to downplay that. But such both amazing people. We're welcoming back to the show Dean Butler and Alison Arngrim. Dean wrote the book Prairie Man, My Little House. I screwed it up last time too. Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond. And Alison is the author of Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, How I Survived Nelly Olson and Learned to Love Being Hated. We're talking Little House 50 and so much more. Welcome back, Dean and Alison.
Thanks, Jeff.
Awesome.
I'm thinking, I don't know, it would be fun for me to try and write a book called Confessions of a Prairie Bitch.
You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how that would go, but what the hell?
Well, if Matt Laberto ever writes a book, remember
Yes.
his character, they even said he was illegitimate. He could write Confessions of a Prairie Bastard. And technically, even though, he's like the nicest person in the world, but they called him that. Mrs. Olson, but they called him that on the show.
That's right. Yes. Well, if you could always count on Mrs. Olson to say something, to use some untoward language about somebody.
Say something dreadful at all times. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. Last time Dean was here, I could not say the name. For some reason, I kept wanting to put a space after house. So I could go in my little house, and it's my little house life.
Yes, My Little House Life and beyond.
And beyond, yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, right here, Jeff. Right here.
I have it right here too. I mean,
yeah. There you go. Okay.
Alison's yours is on my iPad and my Kindle, so it's not as sexy. But yeah, no, I read both your books. I read Karen was on. I read her book. I mean,
Good for you.
I have a whole library. Bonnie Bartlett was on. I read her book. So yeah, I have an entire.
I have not read Bonnie's book, so what's Bonnie's book in a nutshell?
Bonnie's book is, I'd put it on par with yours, Alison, in terms of it doesn't hold back the truths that she lived. Yeah, I mean it's there's some.
She talks about her marriage a lot with Daniels and that it was very countercultural, borderline open marriage and the difficulties with that. And she has some wild stories, I believe.
Yeah.
She was on the talk show. She was up front. It was like.
I remember saying to her when she got on the podcast, I was like, Bonnie, I feel like I need to just tell you a few things because I feel like I know so much that I shouldn't know about you. That really we need to it should be fair here. We should
need to spill some tea on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah.
So how is the Little House 50 for 50 podcast now at 57 episodes? So I guess we're wishing we named it something different. But the
no, we're sticking with the name. We're sticking with the name. It's like, ESPN has their 30 for 30 documentary series. What are they? They've done like 300 of them now, but it's still 30 for 30. So, look, their title worked. We're sticking with our title.
No, it's a great title.
It was descriptive. It was descriptive of what we were trying to do.
You're overachievers. These are the bonus. We call them bonus episodes.
Bonus episodes. Oh, I like that, Jeff. Bonus episodes.
Years and beyond. It's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it kind of the two of you hanging out, doing all these podcasts, reliving all this, pulling in all the, the old the folks that you worked with, all that?
It's interesting. And no one's posed the question quite like that before, Jeff. I'm just going to say, I would have thought it unlikely a number of years ago that Alison and I would be working as closely together as we are. And it's not because, why not? But I just wouldn't have expected it. It's been wacky fun. I tell you, it's been wacky fun. And no one has been more invested in Little House through the years than Alison has, by really leading with it, with this Confessions of a Prairie Bitch frame that she's put around herself, which is incredible. And it so works for her on so many different levels. Allison is so not that. There's so much more going on with Allison than that. It's really a wonderful branding thing for her to have around her, because people loved to hold her in disdain, and she was so easy to hold in disdain for the work that she did on the program. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's been a wonderful surprise working with Allison through all the appearances we've done for years, and then more closely on the podcast. And now I feel like we are joined at the hip with interviews. We're on with each other all the time these days. So it's been a pleasure. It really has been.
I wouldn't have predicted this either, but it's like when we knew we had to do something for the 50th, and we were doing so many events that last year, the 50th was just, we were like out every weekend. It's like bang, bang. And Dean says, okay, we got to do something. I want to do a podcast. And we start calling around. I said, well, we'll get Pamela, we'll do this. And I said, well, call my guy. It blew up. And yeah, if you'd asked me, name 2 random people from the show who would have a podcast together, these would not be the 2.
Yeah, wouldn't have thought that we would do that. Yeah.
And no, there's a whole almost George and Gracie thing. Yes, it absolutely works.
It does work. Allison and I approach our presentation of ourselves in the world very differently. And it is a wonderful yin yang thing that, it's totally pleasurable from that perspective. For me, I don't know how it is for Allison, but for me, it's totally pleasurable.
I'm having a great time. It's hysterical. We are a riot. We are a riot on our podcast. We're freaking hilarious.
So I have to admit, I just discovered the podcast like 2 days ago. Okay. So I was you're busy doing your show. I'm doing my show. But I knew I was talking to you guys, and I'm like, oh, they have this podcast. So I listened to the first episodes. I have so many questions. And how did it turn out? No, but when you guys started doing it, just to kind of counter what you just said, Dean, it made perfect sense to me that the 2 of you were doing a podcast. Having talked to each of you individually, you each bring a very different yet deep approach to the material. And so I see it as a really good mix. I see it as a really good mix.
Well, thank you for that, Jeff. Yeah, no, we do too. I absolutely feel that we touch a lot of different bases with the energy that we each bring to this. So it's been good. It's been good from that perspective.
So what has been the biggest surprises in doing the podcast? A little teaser reveal from one of the cast members or somebody behind the scenes that you're like, oh, I didn't even know that.
People have spilled tea. We've had people on and had like a whole layout, like, oh, well, we're going to talk to them about this. And they've said they want to talk about that. And, with some questions. And in the middle of the show, they go, I've never told anybody this, and just start like dropping things. Melissa Sue Anderson.
I think that's one that jumps out at me as being
it was a big deal to get her on the show. She hardly ever does interviews. She doesn't she's not out in the public eye. She doesn't do events and things. It's not her thing. And she's like, yeah, no, I think I'll do your show. Sure. We had her on twice, but she had to do 2 episodes. And she just said, oh, well, I've never really talked about this, and just started like behind the scenes. We were slack jawed. It's amazing.
She's so earnest about what, I think that what you get from Melissa Sue and now Melissa Sloan, what you get from Melissa Sloan is someone who really, it's very important to her to be authentic and to really tell you. If she's going to tell you something, she's going to tell it to you in a way that is honest for her. Mm-hmm. I think our audience loved that aspect of the conversation. There are those of us in our Little House family who are more forward facing, are willing to be in that position. Melissa Sloan has very deliberately chosen to not be forward facing, public facing. She just isn't. It is something she really has to think about and consider what she's going to say before she says it. And I think what we got is the audience absolutely loves her. They love her. And she was the tough older sister, and you could see talking to her that she carries that. She is a very earnest, studious, precise person. And she brought all of that natural energy to what she did all those years ago playing Mary Ingalls. She was a wonderful counterbalance for Melissa Gilbert's more spontaneous, plucky, fearless kind of vibe that she brings. I mean, it was wonderful casting. The two of them together were wonderful casting.
Anything
Yeah.
else?
Well, yeah, she's very meticulous about it. She's like, she is the way she speaks. It's like, all right, I'm only going to do like 2 interviews in like an entire year, so I'm going to say this, and I'm going to make sure there's absolutely no mistake about exactly what I mean when I say. And so she lays it out. But it was like, well, like she even talked about the famous. Okay, it's a famous episode. Everyone talks about it. It's that way. It's in Country Girls when Ma brings home the beautiful fabric, and she's going to make herself a dress and winds up making the little girls' dresses. It's a sob, cry. It's beautiful, and she has a beautiful fabric. And Laura reaches out to touch it, and Mary, ever the proper, trying to enforce the rule of sister, goes, "Don't touch it. You'll get it all grubby," and hits her hand. But when they shot it, she goes whack. I mean, you hear like crack, and you see Melissa Gilbert go, "Hey," and she's like, "What?" People have said, "Did she really hit her? What did she do?"
And Melissa Gilbert said, "Yes, she really did."
Yeah. And Melissa said, I was really young, and pulling punches and understanding that you don't actually swing, get hit that hard and how to fake a hit. Not really familiar with that. And I'm looking back and going, I really hit her hand really hard. And sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. 50 years later, sorry, I whacked your hand. Jeez, it was like, oh my God, the famous hand slap. We weren't even going to ask.
It's funny what sticks in your head, right? Like,
yeah,
she carried that whole time. It was therapy for her.
Find out that it was a genuine reaction to the moment. And I think
they were in the
realized that these 2 young girls at that point, are very different people, and they're really different people. And I think that was probably a source of, some stuff that went on through the years, but everyone has a pretty good sense of it all now. And everyone understands that it works and that it worked, and that the fact that it's continuing to work after 50 years gives everyone confidence that, okay, there may have been some tough moments there, but it was all good. All good.
Super young. These were really little girls in that season as well, this first season. And so, that made it the kind of weird, spontaneous realism that was going on. And that's the thing. I always tell people, and anyone who has kids and anyone who teaches school, I always say, you ever hung out with tween girls, 11, 12, 13, right around there? You ever thought taking a group of girls in that age, 12 to 14, and lock them in a room together? How'd that go? So, and I'm like, we took 3 tween girls, because it's me, Melissa Gilbert right there. It's like boom, 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 10, 11, 12, and essentially locked them in a studio for 7 years, and no one died. I think.
No, all right. I have a question for you, Allison, because you've said this, and I've heard you say this.
Yes.
Why? Look, I agree. I've seen it, but why is that such a challenging time for young girls? What is the deal? What's going on there?
I see, but terrible. Like perimenopause. You're neither here nor there. It's okay. Boom, puberty. Bad enough. We had everything goes, puberty. But right before, you're not a little girl, and some part of you knows you are not a little girl anymore, and you're not going to be a little girl in a week, any minute. You're not really a little girl. You can't do little girl stuff, but you're not a teenager yet. And your friends who've gone through puberty and are actually teenagers make it really clear. You just look at them and the way they talk to you. You are not a teenager yet, but you are not a kid, and you are in this weird, scary limbo. And the hormones are kicking in. I mean, there's girls who are really hitting that tween syndrome at 9 now, where it was 11. It was the danger age when I was growing up. And it's rough. And if you've been prepared for it, if your friends have told you, or you have an older sister, or your parents, or you saw this film at school, but if you really don't know, you're expecting to become different at 14 or 15. You're maybe not expecting to become a completely different person at 12. And it will mess with your head. And then the identity, it's about identity. And then if there's other girls the same age as you in any kind of competitive situation, well, we've seen what happens with cheerleaders and cheerleader moms. Oh, yeah, it's a whole syndrome. And it is difficult. I mean, aging is always difficult, but for women, you have then when you get older, you have menopause, but then you have right before that, perimenopause. Again, you're neither here nor there. It's terrible. But It's a wonder if any of us get through anything. But yeah, there is
Because
something.
young
about
guys are just sort of
between
clods. Nothing really changes with, I mean, yes, guys are changing, but it's not this. I just remember that, not that we want to get off on this topic, but it's fascinating. I remember the difference in the girls I was going to school with in the summer between 6th grade and 7th grade. What showed up in school the first day of 7th grade compared to what I remember seeing just 3 months earlier, it was incredible. It was like this, like the butterfly had come out of the cocoon. I mean, something amazing happened. It's part of it's genetic, a lot of it's cultural. So you've got all that going on. We were just, I mean, I feel like all of us guys were essentially no changes. I mean, it's like we're just as doofusy as we were before. And these girls are completely different.
Boy, and I remember like 7th grade boys. Yeah, you're all pretty much the same as 6th grade boys. And then like suddenly 8th grade, it's like that. But with guys, it's more somebody threw a switch. You wake up one morning and what happened? Whereas girls, it's this weird, drawn out, up and down process. Very confusing. Guys, it's more like, ka-chunk, okay, there. Now you're in.
I mean, Jeff,
you've gone off on a tangent.
What you were expecting? I mean, this kind of conversation? I don't know. It's fascinating stuff. I mean, this is stuff that captures people's attention forever and ever and ever. It was true in the Prairie times, and it's true today.
And I guess the time in for us is we were all on TV. Here's the thing. Everybody goes through this stuff. Imagine going through all of this on national television, on TV. You're doing an episode and then like you go on hiatus and you come back to do the next episode and you're another person and everyone sees it. And there's personal, I mean, thank God we did not have the internet when we were in Little House. We didn't have to deal with Instagram and TMC and everything else. But the changes, I mean, okay, anybody watch Young Sheldon?
I haven't watched Young Sheldon.
Darling show. Sheldon's sister. Yikes, what happened? They suddenly came back for the next season and Sheldon was still little Sheldon and his sister was like, hi there, wearing like makeup. And it was like, wait, she's supposed to be his twin. Yeah.
Anyway, well, we could go on and on, Jeff.
But yeah.
No, I think
what
this is
do
great.
You want to talk about?
Loving this. What?
No, I was hoping I would be able to resell this package to middle schools so they could teach young children what to expect as they grow
their
up.
peers. Yeah. Well, okay.
All right. Well, I think you covered all my questions.
Well, let's just go back to it.
Personal.
Spent our lives talking about stuff.
Somehow we were talking about surprises from podcasts led to a hand slap, and the next thing we know, we have 15 minutes on puberty.
All the massive changes. Yeah.
I think a lot of people on our show did start to remember stuff they didn't remember. I know I felt the first few episodes, I felt like I was in group therapy. There was a lot of going back to that time and people who were really young on the show going, wow, I hadn't really thought about this, but I was so young then. And Dean, even you were just out of college, but you were a baby compared to now. And the way you had to deal with becoming famous at that age was like, yeah, we've all been talking sort of therapeutically on the show about how we grew up literally on this show.
Yeah, no, we're doing a podcast like this where you're really examining something that you've been a part of is it's like writing a book. It's like anything like that where you are peeling back the onion of your life and things become memories. What I've learned from this process for real is that memories are very connective and one thing connects to something else, And you can start down a path of conversation where you really don't necessarily know where it's going. You can wind up at some place that's really interesting or someplace that maybe you wish you hadn't gone. But yeah, I mean, memory is very interesting that way. And I think our audience is I think the memories of what people, their memories of what they experienced watching the program when they were very young are a very powerful draw to this re-exploration of all this, because I think people, like any program that touches people profoundly, and I think Little House did touch everybody profoundly. It wasn't for everybody, but for those people whom it did touch profoundly, it's very profound. And so our peeling back our memories are a sort of a fascinating window into their feelings and memories about what they experienced as they're watching the show. It's been this really it's sort of fun. It's fun for everybody. It really is fun for everybody. And I really view us now, our Little House family, as there's an immediate close family, and then there's a much larger extended family. And we're all in this large extended family, cast, crew, executives, legions of fans out there who love the program from all cultures. We're all part of the same family. We're all connected. And when you know that when you're together with these people, because the love you feel, the goodness that you feel coming from people is pretty extraordinary, I think.
It's amazing when you start talking about shared experiences with people like you're doing, and they start layering in things that they say, oh, well, remember when Michael said, and you're like, I have no recollection that Michael, like things like that.
Sure.
And then it starts to recolor your memories a little bit. It's just amazing, not only that you're having these conversations, but that you're documenting them all. That's even like the cooler thing about it is like, you're coming back.
There's a record now. Yeah.
We all have these kind of, like, you bump into someone from college and you're talking and you're like, oh my God, remember what? And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot that. That's really, really, that's gotta be really fun for you guys.
It is fun. I think it's fun for our audience who comes, and very devoted audience who comes and listens. And we do Patreon question and Q&A. We need to do more of them, but we've gotten wonderful questions from people who are connecting with their memories in their lives and ask questions based on all that. And it's great.
Who's been the hardest person to get on the show? I assume you haven't got Jason Bateman yet.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, frankly.
We'll probably get Sean Penn before we get Jason Bateman.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. But I think he is for as public as he is in some ways, I think he's a profoundly private person. I mean, I don't listen to it all the time, but I love the Smart List podcast. I think that threesome is really magical together. They do a great, great job. And Jason's personality is the personality that he shows and shares during that dynamic, this sort of really uptight, precise, very conscious of protocol, I think, of doing things the right way. He doesn't give it away a lot. We've tried. We invited him, reached out to his people for our 50th anniversary event in Simi Valley. And it just really wasn't going to happen. And which is obviously everyone has their choices on these things, but he's a fantastic talent. I watched all of Ozark. I've watched some of parts of it multiple times. I just think he's incredible in the show. He and Laura Linney are amazing together. And he was really green when he arrived with us. I think it was really his first, right? I mean, wasn't it his first job? Something like that. It was
maybe, or first regular, I think.
Yeah. And you just could see in him that there was something. He had something special. You just could feel it on him. And he's never, although he says he's had these dry periods in his career, but the way these things go, he has been constant in that world, and it's his talent. It's very special talent, and good for him.
Yeah, Teen Wolf 2 that was a little bump, but then Arrested Development brought him back, and he never looked back. So you never know with that next thing. He's always had some tremendous. He was so energetic and just lit up the room. I mean, he basically got him kicked off Silver Spoons, through jealousy, backdoor jealousy. He's all right. Well, I'm going to cross my fingers. I mean, I understand that's why you're now at 57 episodes for a 50 episode podcast. You're holding out for Jason.
Yeah, we're holding out for Jason.
Holding out for Jason. Yeah, that's totally it.
Yeah,
that could be the new subtitle of your podcast.
Holding out for Jason. Oh, I like that. Those are holding out for. Yes. Good job. That might get him.
It might get enough press. It might get enough press. You only need him for 60 seconds.
Exactly. We just need one quick hit. That's it.
You just come on. You didn't have to do the whole show. And come on for a few minutes. We really don't get. Yeah.
Yes.
Do a freaking promo.
Yeah, and then he'll say, "Okay, is it over now? Can you just let this go now, please?" And of course, no, we can't. I mean, not everybody, like Melissa Sloan, not everybody wants to be public in what they've done. There are people for whom it's very, very challenging to come and sit in front of a microphone, look into a camera, and talk to people. For others, it comes very naturally, organically, and some people are exceptionally good at it. There are people who would be much more comfortable if they're scripted, if they know they're saying words that somebody's written for them and they can invest themselves fully in that, then there are others who would much rather be free of all that and just able to say what they think.
The
So
other
it
thing
just
you could do
depends.
is try and get on Smart List, the two of you.
Yeah, that would be a good booking.
So you have like the different ways people internalize it, close family, extended family, you guys versus Melissa. So when did you know? You can go first, Allison. When did you know this is going to be like such a deep daily part of your life? You're not
Little
putting
House,
this
like when
behind you. Little House. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I got the part, I mean, I knew it was a big deal. It's like, it's a series, it's sold, the villain. I signed a 7-year contract, which is kind of a big deal even then. It's like, oh my God. But somewhere around the 3rd season, I think Little House really kicked in and people started getting really nutty and talking about it and saying things to me. I was like, oh, this is sticking. By the time I was a teenager, I understood, the stories that they allegedly buried Bela Lugosi in the Cape. You get remembered for certain things, and that's it. And I knew growing up around actors in show business, people don't pick the thing that they're famous for forever. Patsy Cline didn't want to record Crazy. Is like the biggest one. People, tons of actors and filmmakers and singers who go, that's the thing they like. Okay, and so you don't know. Oh, this is the thing. And then after the show, we all kind of thought, people get on with their lives. And the first couple of years, I'm like, okay, this will die down. And around the early 90s, I think it was because suddenly we had Nickelodeon was running it, plus the DVDs. Things went nuts. Suddenly I was on Where Are They Now? I Love the 70s. And people recognized me in the street more than they did when the show was on. And I went, okay, something crazy is happening. Something completely crazy. It's 1993. Wait, what? And things got weird. And then they just started getting weirder. And that's when I went, okay. Just get on the train. This is what we're doing. Okay. And here we are.
Mm-hmm.
But that had to be a conscious effort to think that way, because a lot of people don't, right? I mean, Tina Louise was just in the shows, I'm done with Ginger. Well, you've been done with Ginger for 30 years, but like
the example of
Ginger's not done with was not done with her though.
Right.
Well, no, it never ended. You're right. Who's the guy who's sang Misty? I'm as nervous as a kitten up a tree. Yes, he hates that song. It's all the famous. What is Tina Louise famous for? A lovely woman, but she does things. She teaches children and she does drama. She's great. What is she famous for?
Ginger.
And this is, whether you like it or not, that's your thing. And people who like, I cannot talk about the thing, they put themselves in a real bind. And I've known actors who said, okay, I will talk you get 2 questions or 2 minutes, whichever comes first, about the thing. And then we talk about my thing. It's like, okay, I figured out that the amount of time I would have to spend explaining, I do not wish to talk about Little House on the Prairie, the thing that I'm famous for, versus talking about it, I would save several hours a month. That would add up.
Plus, people walk away going, what the hell? Right. And like, they'll go, why wouldn't
Right.
she, because to them, it's so a part of them that's you.
Their lives. And it's part of their lives. And I understand there's people who had a horrible experience. The show they were on, everyone was mean to them. It was awful. They didn't like the show. They didn't like the character. But I was on a good show that was well made and I loved the character and everybody was nice to me.
Jeff, I think that you don't know, you can't know initially if something's going to have this sort of classic luster around it. You just don't know that. The show is out there competing for audiences. It's it's getting a weekly number. I don't think you really know what it is or what its legs are going to be until it's after its network run is over. And then you start feeling that reciprocal or that ancillary bump that comes with it. And I don't think I truly didn't really understand it until sort of the early 2000s when, it did have a bit of a resurgence. And I was transitioning to be a producer, and I learned that a company called Imavision, which was doing the Canadian, French, or the North American and French DVDs for Little House, was producing or wanted to produce a lot of content. And at that point, because rarely are you in a situation where you have such a strong knowledge of something as a producer. So I was able to be on both sides of that line. I understood the actor situation. I knew everybody. And then I also was learning how to put content together. At that point, you start talking to cast members and the stories start to flow and you see the reaction that people get to these little stories. And it really, and then I got my first invitation, I think, to go to Walnut Grove, I think was my first little Walnut Grove, Minnesota, which I think at the time had a population of like 750 people. When we go to this place, it has a population of at least several thousands of people. And it really told me that there was something very real about this, and the love that I experienced going out again, doing it. Much the way Allison talked about, you realize this is a thing. And once you really get that, I mean, you have a choice. You can say, okay, this is the thing, and I'm going to play in this space, or I'm not going to play in this space. And I made the decision at that point that I would play in the space because it had been so good to me. It had been a great, great experience. And I think that's why people stay, because it was good for them. Certainly it's been wonderful for Allison. I mean, my God, she's built a whole world around it, and in a different way I have too. And it's been a great thing for me. There's been nothing else like it in my life. And and there are a lot of shows that get made, as we know. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of hours, and now more shows, more so than ever. Tough to find one that really captures the public's imagination the way Little House did, and has this ongoing love and affection attached to it that's almost reverential. It's very, very special.
I mean, that's why it's okay. Like when I basically woke up one morning in the 90s and said, I can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
It was also, like I said, if it was a bad experience, and with child stars especially, I have friends who they're like, oh my God, in the show I was on, it was horrible. They were exploitive. They were mean to me. It was terrible. I hated it. I've been in therapy for years. And then, you're not probably not want to go on the road talking about that. Or you don't like the show. Maybe it was kind of cheesy or dumb, or you feel dumb watching it, and you're not happy about what you did in it, whatever. But with Little House, we're making a whole movie every week, and the incredible cinematography and the writing and the directing and the acting and the huge stars, Johnny Cash, for God's sakes, guest stars, and all the stuff we did, and these children we were all demanded to give a full range performance like a grown actor. That's different. That you can look back and go, yes, I was on that show. Yeah. And you can hold your head up. So that's different. So I thought, well, if things to be stuck with, I could do worse.
Jeff, I'm sorry. The children on Little House carried an enormous part of the emotional impact of the show. These stories, I mean, I just watched The Raccoon the other day.
The only one that makes me cry. Stuff.
Watching those scenes, or that scene with Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Sue Anderson as they're lying in bed in their little caps, and Mary's saying to Laura that she's sorry that she betrayed her trust, and that you must hate me and I'm a terrible sister. And listening to that conversation between the two Melissas, where Melissa Gilbert, Laura, is telling her older sister that she loves her and that she did the right thing, that she knows that her sister loves her. And it's done in such a way, there's nothing false about it. It rings absolutely true. Kids have these conversations with each other, and I think that resonates. It's very, very powerful stuff. And that episode about loss and honesty and betrayal and wanting something so badly and not being able to have it and having to deal with that, these are real things that people go through. There's nothing, and it's in a wonderful little package, but it resonates so authentically for people. It's bigger than life in a way, the way the show was put together. I always come back to the music. Allison's heard me talk about the music so many times. The music was this very, very powerful character in the program that informed the audience of the depth and the intensity of the emotional relationships that were taking place. And everybody can relate to that, because we feel these things profoundly. When you lose a pet at home, that first time you experience death, or you experience the disappointment of loss, it's devastating. And Little House allowed those feelings to be shared. And I think people just gripped onto that because it was something that they understood it. They understood that it was inherently honest. And they've continued to watch it and love it for all these years because of that. And they come back to it because of that honesty.
I think that is a perfect dramatic segue to Netflix's rebooting the Little House on the Prairie
Okay.
show.
You've been looking for a spot to get in and change the subject here. I mean, come on, guys.
No. I know we wanted to talk about this too. So I was but I didn't want to get in there too early. You gotta, you know how it is. You gotta
You got
find the right
feel that
moment.
No, nice turn. Nice turn, Jeff. Allison, what, we all got this news. I think wasn't it early February when we sort of got this news?
We got like the courtesy call because it's
That's
been
right.
going on for a very long time. We want to do this. We want to make sure it's done correctly. Okay, it's not happening. It is happening. And then the phone call. It is happening. We are going to press. Yeah.
Yeah, we got called by the rights holder, who we all have relationships with because of all the things we've done for years. And I don't know that he called everybody, but he certainly called Allison. He called me to let us know that this was happening, and it was a big moment for everybody to get that news.
Yeah, they've kept us a little on the loop, which is nice because in most cases you're not still having a relationship and talking to the original rights holder of your show 50 years later, and somebody goes and makes it and it doesn't include people, and we're not in it. So normally you're reading about it in the paper, or maybe your agent lets you know, and you're just kind of like, we've been kept in the loop and given little bits and pieces. Well, here's what's going on. The auditions are going to be starting, and we're doing the location search. So we're being very politely kept in the loop, which is kind of cool because everybody's asking us. So, but it hasn't even started yet. I know there's all these people act like it's airing next week. They literally just finished having auditions for Laura like a week ago. It's like they haven't shot a frame of film. It's just starting. So yeah.
I know, but it makes for an interesting conversation as well. And you're right; they just kind of announced it. I know, Allison, you're like every older article where there's always been like, "I'll cameo." There's a quote from you that says, "I'll cameo. I'm in."
I'm sure I've always, like, fine. What, I mean, people, how many times have we remade a Christmas Carol, or how many times we remake these movies? There's movies that get remade. There's certain stories, and these are the original books. This is the books. You could pick a different part of Laura's life, like much later, much earlier, for Rose's life, and just make endless films. I've been calling it like the prequel, because if this was like, a Marvel thing or a Star Wars thing, we say, oh, is that a prequel? Because they're going back to the books to when she's very young, to the beginning. We have Star Wars, and then we have The Mandalorian, and we have all this. There's the comic books and the video games and the show. It's all canon. They go, it's all canon. How many versions of Star Trek are there?
Yeah.
We will always be Shatner and Nimoy, but
Right.
Star Treks, and I watch them all, so I don't have a problem. I always say I'm old enough to be Mrs. Olsen now, and you have my number. So I'm sure.
Oh, I hope it's hugely successful. It's like I know Dean and I specifically, when we were talking, we're like, there's like you could start watching Little House today and finish it. Maybe not finish it before you die. Like there's just so much content. Right? There's 204 hours of or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. It got me kind of going down this isn't the first time they've done other Little House stuff. And
no, it's not the first time. It's the first time it's been. Here's what it is, though. Actually, this is the third attempt, or the third incarnation that's rights based.
Yeah.
So there was the original series, then there was Ed Friendly's Little House on the Prairie that he did for Disney in 2006. Then there were a number of things that were not associated with the property. There was two or three different Beyond the Prairie movies that CBS did, that Richard Thomas played Pa, and
wait. Because I've been waiting.
John Boy's Pa.
Yeah.
How can
it is better than John Boy's Pa? Hang on a second. There's better than John Boy's Pa. So we're talking about the true story of
Walter Goggins.
Oh, you just wanted to step on me so bad on that, didn't you?
Okay.
I don't know if they forgot it.
Walter Goggins, dude's like one of the bigger actors right now. He just blew up on White Lotus.
I know.
Love Walter. Always loved Walter Goggins.
Yeah, he was Almanzo.
Yes, he was Almanzo. Now I'm trying to think of the actress, very attractive young actress who was, sort of that 20-something Laura, who was
the grown-up Laura.
Yeah, I remember the thing that told me that this was a very different
Meredith
take.
Monroe.
Okay, Meredith Monroe. The thing that told me that this was a very different take on Little House, something that never would have happened on our show, was there was a moment in a tall, endless field of wheat or a prairie grass. The two of them are standing together and they sink down in the grass and disappear in the tall grass. And that would never have happened on our show.
Yeah.
There's no way. It was, and look, I thought it was, my memory of it is that it was a really beautiful kind of moment, but it was taking, and I think the Friendly family was not happy that this had happened, but there was because it wasn't based in the book, so there was no way to stop it.
Right.
And characters are public domain people.
Laura was so weirdly private about certain parts of her life. She spills her guts in parts of the books and then is like, "Meh." The wedding is not portrayed technically in the books. People go, Laura Almanza's wedding, was that we don't know. She goes in the books. She goes all the way up to the wedding. Her friend arrives, is going to be matron of honor. They talk about the pastor they got, how they're not going to say obey, right up. And it goes, right. And then we were married.
And then we were married, right. Yeah.
No kissing, no dip. She kept that. That's a private moment. That is a private moment. I told you everything all the way up to like we walked in the room. That is all you people are getting. And she stopped. And so that's what people. So yeah, Laura Almanza and the wedding and the thing and the no.
And the romance of the tall grass was never
falling down on the ground in the grass. Yeah, no. Moon went behind a cloud. No.
Yeah.
I will say that these are portrayed as like the true stories, right? But the one negative comment, or the first negative comment on the first movie, is there's no Nelly character.
Thank you. Yeah, that's come up before. I remember even when they did when Ed Friendly did his, it was 6 episodes around on Disney. There were articles and people in the news going, "Is there Nelly in it?" No, I can't watch it. I'm like, "Geez, people."
Well, it was the first 2 books. Is basically in 6 hours he did what was the original pilot.
Right.
The original pilot movie was basically did the very end of not even the very end. It picked the departure point from Wisconsin and carried them to Kansas. And then we went through the entire Little House on the Prairie book in whatever that remaining 90, it was less than 90 minutes. It was, and that's how that was handled. And that should have told people some very important information. This series, if this goes to series, it is not going to mirror the books because you couldn't do a long run series based on the way Michael thought about episodic television. The books would not have sustained that. I suspect, and Alison and I both believe, that it's very likely that this new incarnation in the Netflix world of 6, 7, 8 episode seasons, as opposed to 22 episode seasons, could more logically sustain a telling of each book in a 5 to 6 hour period.
Right. You could do so many episodes and get through that book. And 6 episodes, you could go way deep into a book. Yeah. And then you could do, and now the next book, and you could get away with it without having to like make up 40, 50 pages. You could do it. But you can't do 22 episodes, and like you'd be tearing through those books. It just does. And Michael, he said TV is TV, and TV in the 70s, and just come up bonanza. He said, there's a whole chapter on how to make an apple fritter, and I'm not filming that. I can't. There's things that work for episodic TV, that format that we were in, and that's what he did.
Yeah. And who knew? Years later, people would watch an hour of people making an apple fritter.
And now
there's a whole channel on it.
Isn't that true? You're right. People will spend an hour watching making an apple fritter. Michael wrote, or Laura, let's put it this, Laura wrote about what people did to survive. Michael wrote about how people felt about what they did to survive. Michael lived in an emotional world. That was really where he lived, and that's where the center of his storytelling was. Laura's storytelling was a much more fact-based, we did this, and we did this, and we did this, and we did this, and this is what happened. I think, look, they both could be satisfying, but there's no question that Michael's emotional approach was hugely successful, and people fell in love with these characters. I do remember in the Disney version of this, it felt to me like the show was strangely devoid of emotion.
Not as much. Didn't have as much.
Things happened, but you didn't spend a lot of time in that emotional realm where I think where an audience becomes vested in the emotional stakes that are in place. And I think particularly interestingly with this property, it's going to be fascinating, Jeff, to see how this group of producers, actors, and cameramen manage storytelling in a different time. There's a different expectation. We live in a much more nuanced world than we lived in when this show was first made, where good was good and bad was bad. It was, it was still white hats, black hats. Now there's so much gray hat everywhere. And I think that becomes more, that's a much more challenging space. And there's much more room, I think, to, I don't know, I don't want to say lose people, but it maybe you can hook them with this big set piece of something.
Mm-hmm.
How do you hanging on to them, having them vested, really vested in a loving way, not in the context of watching a train wreck, but having them, having them vested in really being there with you.
It's going to be the people. If they get as lucky in casting as we did, if they get, it was all that chemistry between the actors, sparks flew. If they find the right people, this thing could be just off to the races.
Yeah,
That's
I think it's going to be though, right? That's really the
casting is 90% of everything.
Can you think of a reboot that's even pulled that off other than Gidget?
Isn't that amazing? Gidget is sort of this cultural phenomenon as well. And I think that character, another iconic American female character, as Laura Ingalls Wilder is, a little more frothy, but so optimistic and like Laura, optimistic, positive, looking for the best in their life. I mean, it's very inspirational in this bubblegummy kind of way, but very inspirational. I wonder if the audience in today's world, will an audience, do we need the flaws in order to humanize somebody? It's not enough to just set an example. You have to have, the characters have to have their failings. At least that's what it feels like as you watch so much, which is why it's hard to, I mean, I want to watch television and feel good as I'm watching television. I realize that a lot of the audience doesn't care about feeling good. They want to see a train wreck.
But you want to feel something. And I agree with that.
You got to feel something.
It's like this weird combination of the right audience you have to find and the right reimagining, because the thing that the show has going against it is everything that you guys love and keep alive, which is everything you love and keep alive. It's not like, if I have such a memory of this is Nelly, this is Almanzo, this is Laura, this is Ma, this is Pa, someone's got to replace Michael Landon, whether they're technically doing it or because it is from the book. We've had a million James Bonds, so it's not like it's not possible.
Yeah.
But it's got to be that right combination of everything, especially when you're dealing with something like Little House.
It's going to be interesting to see how that, it's very interesting and cool. And I think what we've said to people is that we hope that people are willing to give it a chance and watch it on its own terms.
Right. Let it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's the books, right? So Michael Landon interpreted them one way. You can interpret it and still have, that's the beauty of it, is interpret it and create your own same thing. You know what I mean? I think Battlestar Galactica was a good example.
The book people. I talk about the book people, the history people. There's the history people, and they're mad the books aren't even historically accurate enough for them. And then there's the book people, so there shouldn't have even been a show. I only did the books. And there's the book, and there's all these factions of the history people, the book people, the TV people. I don't know, maybe the book people will be thrilled because it'll be completely different.
Yeah.
As long as it's just good, I think everyone will be happy, right? I mean, that's what that's why your series still stands up. It was, Michael Landon made the best show, and it's still amazing. I mean, it holds up. And so it does. That's part of it. It's kind of amazing.
As we like to say, Jeff, the finest family drama in the history of television.
I will say.
I mean, I don't think that's, okay, some people would say, I don't know what exactly you'd say is a comparative to it, but its resonance with people in this genre, the resonance is incredible. It really is.
It is amazing. You guys were only on this show together for what? They had season 6 and 7, like
7
Yeah,
and
'cause you came in, like,
yeah, no, that's right. So Allison, you did in fact leave after season 7?
Allison was
I
not
had
in
left at the end of season 7 and then came back for one
And came
episode in
back.
season 9, which is a whole
Right.
bizarre story right there.
Right,
But yeah,
right,
but
right.
I took the 7th, and what did you show up season 6?
Yeah.
Eh?
Top of season 6. Yeah. Yeah. No, and that transitional season, because Laura changed during that season, reflecting on this earlier conversation we were having about young women. Laura really, the nature of that character, her independence, her seeing of herself in a particular way or in a different way, she really changed. I think the audience was absolutely ready for it. When they realized, the people who were the book lovers heard that Almanza Wilder was coming, they knew what was coming. And I think that hooked people. A whole segment of the audience was in there all the way because they knew what the story was. And I think, as much as, look, we didn't tell the story the way Laura told it, but the thread of the story was pulled through that season, and then had its culminating moment, or its next big moment at the top of season 7 when they got married. It was one of the few elements in the series that did reflect in its own way what Laura had written about in the books. One of those rare elements. I think the audience appreciated that and stayed with it, or really hooked into it when that happened.
amazing. So, Allison, what did you think when Dean joined? Were you like,
Well, I mean, it's the thing. I knew it was coming. I mean, I always thought how brave he had to be, because you are stuck. Because I mean, the books are written by Laura Ingalls Wilder, so you already know it's not like, oh, we decided to give her a husband like me or like Melissa Sue Anderson. We've written in a husband. You know the husband thing. You know Almanza Wilder's in the show. Get to be, and everyone's been reading Farmer Boy and these Happy Golden Years. They have already decided what he is supposed to be like, and then you have the added thing of, it's Melissa Gilbert, who we've now been watching for what seems like centuries, and we know what she's like. So is that going to work with her? So it's like, talk about a niche market thing. Yikes. So I remember thinking, as we all did when we got married in the show, who the heck are they going to, how are they going to pull this off? Who is this poor guy? And he did it. He did it. He pulled it off. It was like he was Almanzo-y enough and innocent enough, and he had to be innocent. Almanzo had to be very sweet. And he made it work. He made it work, which is like the tough row to hoe, as my mother would say. I was fascinated to see it. And then, of course, we did have the fun with the first couple episodes where I think Mrs. Olsen thinks he's a catch for me, and I attempt to steal him by inviting him to dinner, which was just a whole wonderful thing. And that's what's crazy, is that even though our relationship with the show was like 2 episodes, that damn cinnamon chicken scene has just not gone away and is brought up all the time.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, when you have Allison was such a wonderful, love to be appalled by villain. She was so, talking about her like she's not here, she was such a wonderful villain in this. And the audience you just knew that this was not a play that was going to work out. So it's just a question of what the fun of it not working out would be.
Right,
and
there's no suspense.
Yeah, and so this cinnamon chicken moment, and then the wonderful mud fight that happens at the end of that episode. It's just so much fun. It was a wonderful launch to that season and that storyline of Laura's coming of age. It was just a great way to start it off, and that dynamic with Allison was great fun. And of course, can't talk about Allison in that situation without connecting to Catherine McGregor, who played Allison's mother, obviously, Harriet Olsen, who was absolutely unforgettable on the program and was just an indelible presence, so important to the success of the program. These 2 characters, Mrs. Olsen and Nelly, massively important to the program's ultimate long-term success. And you just can't say it enough. the presence was hugely important in the drama, because they are the fly in the ointment. They are the problem. They are the thing that's going to screw everything up week after week after week. And they did it so wonderfully. And people love them for it.
Huge character. In Japan,
Huge.
the show is called Nelly's House.
It should be, but no.
Maybe France would be better, right?
Yeah, well, definitely in France.
Oh my God, there's so cuckoo for it in France. Cuckoo for it, and especially me. So works to my advantage, I'll tell you. So yeah.
Well, Dean, I have one more question for you that we can ask in front of Allison and pretend she's not here. You mentioned earlier, we know obviously, Allison's personality is a bright shining star, and she's hilarious. But if we go back in time to the top of season 6, season 7, when she's full on Prairie Bitch mode, that's her character. This is what the world now knows her as.
Yes.
Same Allison when the cut is Allison, like, was she still staying in character with a little bit? Like, what? And Allison can answer this too. I just thought it'd be funny.
Oh, well, I mean, look, I think Allison was fully in control of what she was doing. You know, she could be this monster 1 minute, and when you say cut, it's like, okay, what are we having for lunch? I mean, it's like, or where are we going for lunch, or what are you doing this weekend? This was not, I didn't sense that Allison was doing this agonizing emotional immersion into this. I think that Allison got the joke, and I think she got it from day one. She understood intuitively what this was, and she brought it. And I think had an absolute field day. When I first met Allison, I really didn't know what to make of her. I mean, the first time, because here's this in this costume, this, you know, the ringlets and the lace and all of that vibe that she had going. And then, but she'd come in the morning, she'd come in with some, like, you know, punk sleeveless t-shirt on with black Levi's and Converse high tops and dark black eyeshadow on it. I mean, and driving her red and white Ford Ranchero. What was it, like a
1957 Ranchero, but with the 1965 289 Mustang engine. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, it was like, who is this? I mean, I had never met a young woman like this before. This Allison was completely outside my life experience. Allison was really like, you know, a Hollywood girl, and she grew up in the industry. I mean, really grew up in the industry, not just was around it. She was deep inside it. Mother, father, brother, everybody was inside this business. And so she understood things about it and was in on the joke from the very beginning, all the way along. You know, I've developed such a deep appreciation for Allison as the years have gone by. At first, in all candor, I did not know quite what to make of Allison when we first started working together. I didn't know. She's awesome.
Who could blame you? Yeah, it's like there was a sort of a method acting thing with Nelly, but it's like, in like good method, the idea is you find the thing with the anchor, whatever, that's like, oh, we're going there. We're going to go there. That's how we're going to be. That's how we're going to be. Oh, it's like that. I'm going to be that person. But what if you find it? And that's the thing, is by the time he showed up, I was like, so I knew what I was doing by then. Once you know where that place is that you're going, you can go there, step back out, step back in. So it doesn't matter. You go, oh, turn it on, turn on the death ray. Then, yeah. And then when they're done, you can go, what's for lunch? And it's awesome. The scene with the stuttering girl, I remember Katie Kurtzman has talked about that she said it was so weird because she said, I was absolutely horrifying, just so unpleasant, so torn. And then they'd say cut. And I was like, la, 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 la. And she said she was doing all this heavy duty emotive stuff with the crying and the stuttering. And she said, I don't know what the hell you were doing. I thought it was demonic possession at that point because it just like came and went like, yeah.
So did you want to say anything nice about Dean? He went on for you for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Dean, you know, there's things you could say about Dean that sound like insults. He's such a Boy Scout, but no, like, yes, he does embody the goodness and innocence and properness of Al Manzo in the show. There's that whole thing going, but that is him. That's why he was able to, that's why he got the part. Michael had a big thing about, I don't want to see a lot too much acting. Like, what was it? Don't act. Your friend told you the addition. Don't act. That's the thing, is there had to be a lot of you in it. If it was totally fake, he just wasn't interested. He wanted someone, there was enough of them in that. And so when Dean came in just out of school, and howdy, how you doing? He went, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Dean talks about in his book that he was brought up to be very polite and to be nice to people. Good evening. Thank you. Welcome to our home. Would you like a cocktail?
How do you do? Yes. How do you do? I felt like I was brought up in an A.R. Gurney play in some ways. I really was. I mean, Muffy, Buffy, I had all of that around me.
Welcome to my parents' home. May I get you a cocktail? Yes,
we're sitting for dinner. 5 o'clock. Can I serve you before my mother gets home from the club? There was definitely some of that going on.
That's that going, which it works. It's great. And the other thing, and I talked about it in the foreword to his book, who the heck do you know, after being in Hollywood, being on more than one series, being on Gidget, being in movies and series and Broadway, and being famous and being 18, idle, no less, at one point in the 70s, and now reached the, past 60 years of age, can still blush when a female fan comes up and goes, oh, well, Manzo, he's still so cute. Who can still turn pink at that age after all that?
And here we go.
Dean is still innocent enough to blush when complimented.
I'm so flattered by it. I really am. The love and affection that I have gotten from people throughout the years has been just this amazing, amazing gift. My wife, Catherine, Catherine's a wonderful actress. She's worked far more than I've worked in my career, but she's not really public about it at all. And she always says before these weekends, all right, as I'm packing my bag and getting ready to go to the airport, all right, go off and be adored again this weekend. I mean, it's just, she's got a good sense of humor about it. She understands why it's meaningful to me to do this. And when you see those looks in people's eyes and their experience of what they remember, and it's about their memory. It's about their memory of what they felt, what they were going through, and you see it in their eyes when they come up to say hello. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's so human and it's so good. And I see this with women with their children, with their grandchildren, with their husbands of 30 years with them, but they still are able to go to that place when they come up and say hello at these events. And you just see that there was this 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old girl who's watching this and having this experience. And it's pretty cool. It really is. I recommend it highly. If you and for anyone who has the opportunity to have the experience, I highly recommend it. It's pretty special.
After your guys' episodes ran, I can't even walk out of the house. People flood me. Oh, aren't you the guy on the podcast? No, I think it's amazing. I mean, you can see by the back, I got all these 8x10s. I love going to Comic-Con, so I see all that firsthand. And I've talked to a lot of people who shared like amazing stories of what that person's particular show meant to that particular person. And when they hear that, it's like a next level thing. It's like something you never expect, but it'll stay with you forever, which is amazing. You know what else is amazing? You guys are amazing for hanging out with me for so long. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. I mean, you can't, when you're doing it, you can't know where it's going.
That's for sure.
you just can't know. And the fact that it's gone the way it's gone for us and all of us who are a part of the Lowell House family is just this amazing, amazing thing. It's a gift that you can't say thank you enough for. Really, truly is.
You guys, let's show everyone. Do you have a copy of your book? I'm sure, Allison. Do you want to hold it?
I know. I usually have one laying around to wave about.
Well, let's do. Watch this, everyone. Oh, there we go. Dean
Sure, yeah.
Butler, Prairie Man, My Little House
Yeah.
Life and Beyond. Boom.
There you go. Yes, I don't want to block the title. What am I doing? Yeah.
And Allison, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, How I Survived Nelly Olson and Learned to Love Being Hated. And of
Dude,
course, their amazing podcast, Little House 50 Plus for 50,
Yeah.
Waiting for Jason.
Waiting for Jason. Yeah, I think we have to play with
Oh, no, waiting for Jason. But
Yeah, we have to do
That's
that.
available wherever you listen to podcasts. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, all the good places. Thank you both so much. This was doubly fun.
Thank you for having us, Jeff. Very kind.